Welcome to our session on footnoting. As you'll recall, the last time I was talking to you it was about EndNote, and what we're going to do now is to go into something a little bit more detailed about how to footnote. First of all, let's go into our paper template, and again we had footnoted our theology as big as the city, and we had found this information from EndNote using the Library of Congress. This time we're going to look at how to add a footnote or a reference in our EndNote library that is not in the Library of Congress. So let me get out of this and go into our EndNote program, and if I go into EndNote, you'll notice that when I get in here, the books that I've already inserted are listed here, but I've also inserted manually this reference to a lecture that was given during the Overture 1 in Seattle. And the way that you do that, I'm going to close this one out again just so that you can see it from the beginning. If you want to create a new reference that's not in the Library of Congress, like a lecture during a class that you're taking, you're going to go into References and you're going to click on New Reference. I'm just going to go back into this one, and you'll see that in this area it's asking you for the reference type. If you're going to reference a lecture, use the drop-down box and click on Hearing. Hearing is the one that's going to give you the options that you need, and it's going to format it correctly in your footnote. So the author is going to be the person who's doing the lecture. In the space where it says year, type in the date of the lecture. The title is going to be whatever the topic is that the professor is talking about. Where it says committee, you're going to put the title of the class. In other words, this was our Overture 1 Seattle class, so I've typed in Overture 1 Seattle. And in the city, I've put Bakke Graduate University. So let's close out of this, and what I'm going to do is show you how it appears in the footnote. Let's go down to, I think I inserted that somewhere. Maybe it was up here. No, so we'll just add it. Sorry about that. Okay, we'll go down to this book. Okay, so we're going to go, remember you go to References, Insert Footnote, you go back into your EndNote program. Here's the topic that Grace Barnes was speaking, and there we go. We've inserted it into the footnote. You'll notice Grace Barnes, it came out, there's her title. It was in Overture 1 in Seattle, Bakke Graduate University in January of 2008. So let's glance down at our bibliography quickly and see how that looks in our bibliography. You'll see there it is, formatted exactly right to Turabian standards in our bibliography. Isn't that cool? The next thing we're going to do is insert. I'm going to show you how to insert. We'll go here, and we're going to go back into EndNote, and let's first insert a footnote so we're in the right place. Let's insert a book that we can't find in the Library of Congress. Again, go to References, and you're going to go down to New Reference. Now, be sure you put your type to whatever type of reference that you're inserting here. Let's insert a thesis this time. Okay? Now in the thesis, this is going to be if you're quoting someone's dissertation or their thesis or well, those are the two basic things that you're probably going to reference. You're going to start with the author. Let's say we want to reference Nancy Murphy's dissertation. The year was, when did she graduate? I think it was 2008. And her dissertation was on domestic violence, the city is going to be Seattle, University, Baki Graduate University, and the degree was a D-Min. Now let's see if that works. Close the reference. It's going to automatically save it. And let's insert it and see what we get. There we go. Domestic Violence by Nancy Murphy, Baki Graduate University, and she graduated in 2008. So another kind of reference that we occasionally have to use is a website. Let's see if we can pull one up for you. So a lot of times you're going to be quoting materials from a website, and that's totally acceptable, but you need to make sure that you're doing it correctly. In Turabian, the more updated version, I'm not finding a website here that I can reference handy, I'm sorry. So let's insert the footnote. Let's just go look at our websites. So we're going to add a reference, new reference, and we're going to say that it's a web page. So the author is going to be, we'll just call him John Doe, the year 2010, the title, What Every Man Needs to Know, sorry. And we don't know this information, but we know the access date. So the date that you accessed this web page is what you need to put here. So if you put January 2nd, 2011, that's what you're going to put. And then the other information that you need to make sure that you've got is the URL. So www, I'm just going to put bgu.edu just because I don't know what their URL was, and we're going to close. Again, got that, and we insert it, and voila, there we go. So it's by John Doe, What Every Man Needs to Know, what the website is, and what date you accessed it. Those are the information, those are the stats that you need. Let's look again at the bibliography and see how that looks in our bibliography when we have John Doe, What Every Man Needs to Know, the web address, and what date it was accessed. Okay? Those are probably the most often used references that you're going to need. Let's talk some more about our footnoting. One of the most important things that you need to remember when you're footnoting is that you always put quotation marks and the footnote for anything that you're referencing or you're quoting from material of any kind. In other words, you would be considered plagiarizing if you put something, you wrote a sentence, let's say, that someone else has either spoken or written. Therefore, you must reference it like we have in this Tom Clegg footnote. As you can see, when you're footnoting, the other thing you keep in mind is that any quote of more than 4 lines must be block quoted. So as you can see, the rest of my document is double spaced. This quote is single spaced. And there are no quotation marks used. You don't need to put quotation marks when you've block quoted. And again, you reference it with your footnote just as you do any other footnote. All right? So those are the main uses of footnoting. The next thing we want to talk about is scripture quotes. In a scripture quote, you'll see that what I've done is I've put the quote marks around the verse that I have quoted. There's no period at the end of that sentence. Instead, the period goes after the reference has been included. So we've got, sorry about that, we've got our quote, and then we have in parentheses John 3:16. the other thing that's very important for you to remember when you're doing scripture quotes, here I've written out John, correct? You can do that. You can write out John, or you could do a JN, or JN with a period. But you must remain consistent throughout your document. So once you begin to use references using either the very short version, the short version plus a period, or if you're going to spell it out, you do the same thing throughout your document. It doesn't matter. You can choose which way you do it. You just need to remember to be consistent. Okay? Let's see what else about footnotes that you might want to know. Can't think of anything right now. So, again, I'm going to repeat that when you have finished your document, go back into EndNote, go into your bibliography here, click on this, and remove the instant formatting. You want to turn off instant formatting, say OK, and then remember that you remove the period in the middle here, add a comma instead of the period, and a space, the page number, and then a period at the end. Okay? I think that's it.